What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing tonight? Doing a little short stream here. We're going to talk about my settings I use for Breakpoint, how I do some of my tactical gunplay. See a lot of streamers and YouTubers out there with different styles of play. Everybody teach their own. It is a game, so if you play like it's a game, 100% do you, for sure. But for those of you looking for a more realistic or tactical style of gameplay, this might be the spot to look at, right? I'm not going to toot my own horn because most of this stuff I've had to learn from other people, but I have done 8 years active duty Navy, learned a decent amount there, like the bare bone basic, we'll say that. My particular job didn't require me to know a lot of that stuff. So, but I play with, on Xbox, I play with a couple of guys, or a few guys now, prior Marines or active. PlayStation, I also play with a couple of Marines and Army guys on there. Excuse me. So from them, I've learned a lot. First thing off the bat you'll see is the way I'm dressed. The way my character here is purely because of information I've gotten from prior Marines who actually did time overseas, boots on the ground, all that stuff, right? I did my whole tour, my first tour on the ship, my second tour on shore duty, so my extent is putting a uniform on and coming into work every day. Not knocking it, right? But that didn't really cue me into some of the color schemes and the reasons why. I'm not going to get into all that right now. That'll be in a later stream, probably in conversation between myself and some of the other guys. But yeah, so this is OD green with tan equipment, tan gear. So like your vest here, or Coyote Brown, excuse me. Coyote Brown gear. And then the olive drab, which is your OD for your pants and shirt. So pretty simple. There's a few other color schemes that you'll see. But that's just keeping it kind of simple, right? Also, I sometimes go between 2 or 1 main weapon. You'll see that from time to time. Right now I'm rocking 2. My role as a Pathfinder is as Overwatch, right? So I'm gonna help find out all the enemies, especially the snipers and rocket gunners. Those will be my primary target because I am rocking long arm as my secondary, right? Scorpio Scout. Sometimes I rock attack 50, anything like that. Anytime I'm rocking a heavy long arm, especially attack 50, I'm not going to use anything but the MP7 if I have a secondary. Now, if we got a full squad of 4, or you know, if Breakpoint gets their act together and decides to add some stuff and expands the team size to 6, and then they add content that makes it viable to have more than 4 players on the team at a time on this hard difficulty that I'll be talking about here, then what I would like to see, and this is something I've talked about before, is a sniper with a spotter, which is, you know, how the scout recon teams, from what I've been told, how they run. Snipers never ever out there, very rarely out there by themselves, unless they're on some, you know, covert ops or echelon or whatever type shit. Not echelon as in the echelon, but something like that, to give you some perspective. No, they're usually out there in pairs because they're, you know, better in numbers, right? Groups of individuals have a higher chance of survival. So yeah, so it'd be cool to have sniper spotter. In that case, I would have strictly just a heavy sniper rifle with my pistol, but then I have some gear, and I would have my radio backpack, which I'm actually going to switch back to because I did change that up. Yeah, I'm usually running Fix's backpack with the Coyote Brown. But yeah, so this is to kind of make it realistic for the weight, right? You're not going to have a big ass sniper rifle or even this DMR, which is a borderline sniper, with a big AR, LMG, whatever like that. I mean, yeah, in the field they'll probably carry some sort of AR rifle, but just going for this perspective here, because then what it also does is it forces you to rely on your teammates. So I'm not going to take a mid-range shot with attack 50. You can be done, but you're not going to just pull up and do it, right? So if you're in a firefight and all I have is SMG, but I'm running with 3 other guys who are part of the fire team and they got their rifles out, they're going to be the ones taking the brunt of fire. I'll be providing security or overwatch or some sort of support, but my primary focus isn't going to be the firefight. Mine's either going to be sitting back taking shots from a distance, which is why I usually have mines, which I don't currently have mines because last week we just got them doing. Usually have mines though, place those in different strategic locations to help guard myself. If I'm playing engineer, I'll get a big ass light machine gun, or I'll get an AR that's outfitted pretty heavily, and then I might have an SMG, but usually it'd just be a grenade launcher, 302. So there's a few different opinions on how that will work together, right? Because you got your rocket launchers in your gear equipment down here, so that won't count as a weapon that you're carrying. But you can make it where you only have one weapon, and then you have your rocket launchers here. So it just depends on how deep the immersion you want to go and the reasoning behind it, right? Like I said, everybody has their own style of play. I'm not knocking anybody, but this is just how I play and how the group of guys that I play with plays. All right. The skills, these are pretty much whatever you want, really. I'll show you in a second my settings as far as the HUD goes, which is why you'll see that I don't have automatic marking within 25 meters. It does me no good because I don't have those markers on enemies. So this is kind of like, you can kind of think of it like, because you are a spec op, right? You're a ghost operator. So this is part of your training to make you the best of what you are. So mine's equipped with ballistic advantage, so increased range and handling. I do increased damage against drones when I have a sniper rifle equipped, which I currently don't, so I need to change that. And then gunslinger, alright? So when I'm not rocking Rolling Thunder, I'm usually rocking Slim Shadow, which helps with my stealth. When I'm rocking Engineer, I usually rock Explosives Expert, so that's why you see the gray check, because it's saved on a bit different build. Sensor Hack is on my Echelon. So it's just different things based off of your specialty, right? Now you could go as far, going all the way over here to settings, go to your Ghost Experience parameters and put in gear level on. Now, there's a couple things about that, right? So gear level, you need gear level on to do the raid, period. Point blank, you can't do it without gear level on. So cool, you definitely want to get your gear level up at some point because the raid is like your end game. But with gear level, there can be the argument made with you have gear level on, your gear, your weapons, and your clothes, which if you see here, I have no clothes over here on this side. It just replaced my stats. When your gear level on, you actually have clothes that you put on here. Now, the clothes don't have to define how your character looks. They can, right? Or you can just have clothes on, but then actually customize an outfit, and then the outfit is what's displayed regardless of the clothes that you have on. The clothes here would then just be strictly for the benefit of what they come with, the perk or talent. So then if we get a roll on clothes, like a stealth bonus or damage resistance, so where some of those have caps on, which you can see here in your stats. See right here. Yep. See, these are some of your stats here. So stealth, most of them max out at 100. Movement speed maxes out 20%. Throw range at 100%, which is ridiculous. I do have a build with gear level on where that's maxed out. You can just throw EMP grenades for a while, right? Yeah, explosive damage max at 50, reload speed 30, drone evasion 50, agility 20, right? You get your survival stats, you get your drone stats, right? All these are stats. You get gear that maxes some of those stats out, so then you can really spec your character and really make him a special operator. Some people look at that as unrealistic. Some people look at as your ability to be the spec op that you are. So there's different ways, a couple different ways to do it. I typically go gear level off. You'll notice on PlayStation I have some of the similar settings that I have here, so it's going to be pretty similar across the board. Alright, so going back to your Ghost Experience parameters, right? Most of you are familiar with this. Gear level, like I said, I have off. Difficulty for enemies is on extreme. Alright, hardest difficulty you can get. Takes time to get to that. If you're just getting into Breakpoint for the first time, you're watching this and you're like, man, this is ridiculous, I ain't trying to do all that. Cool, 100% get it. I didn't start on a stream. I didn't start with my HUD off. I didn't start all that stuff. I was like on normal, maybe advanced sometimes, I felt froggy, but I have a full HUD on. But then as I went along and I started playing tactical and I started learning tactics, that stuff I didn't need that stuff. It helped me, but it wasn't necessary. You know what I'm saying? Go over the tactical difficulty interface here in a sec. Social and Bivs, I have original on. The reason for, I normally would have Garage at Bivouac off, and I would have Garage at Bivouac on, Shop at Bivouac off, right? I reason the garage and bivouac on. Same way in Wildlands, you could call for rebel support and request a vehicle, and something to be there instantaneous, which that was unrealistic, right? But garage and bivouac on, especially now with rebel support, when you break camp, there's a vehicle there. So cool, especially if you fast forward the day, you prepare and you do your preps, which I'm gonna walk through that whole process. You do all that stuff, you get to that point, boom, now you fast forward the day, and there, boom, you got a vehicle delivered. Cool, good to go. All right. But on Xbox, if you go back to Arrow One, which I normally would for the shop. So if I'm out in the field, I would craft everything, and I still do most for the most part. But I allow myself to have a shop in case, especially at the beginning of a play session or at the end of a play session, I can reason I'm going back to Arrow One to go buy out of the stuff that I used to replace it. The reason why I don't do it when I actually go back to Arrow One is because of the fact. Oh, okay. Because of the fact that Arrow 1 glitches out on Xbox. So you play on Xbox 15, 20, 30 minutes, you go to Arrow 1, end of the time in that beginning of your play session, you should be fine. But as time goes along, the longer you go, if you go back to Arrow 1, the chances of you getting kicked from the game all the way back to home screen, back, increases greatly to the point where it happens almost every time. So I'm going to take that chance because it breaks immersion for me. That's on Xbox. On PlayStation, I have restricted, but I do have garage and bivouac on, so that would actually be custom. And the exploration mode, this is depending on feeling. Been doing guided mode for a while, it'll have the marker up on the screen. Non-guided, you don't see the marker, you have to use the clues that's given to you for the mission. But PlayStation, the game-breaking thing for me is the rendering. So if you're traveling somewhere very quickly by helicopter or plane, or on ground by vehicle, and you're getting ahead of the game's ability to render ahead of you, you'll see it, you'll notice it. That's not so bad, but that also causes the enemies to not to render very quickly. So if you fly from over here to over there by helicopter, and you go straight in and land, when you initially set down, even if you set down in the middle of the camp, there'll be no alarm, no enemy spotted. You're just walking like, oh, this is Kate. And then they spawn in, and they just happen to spawn in right in front of you or in an area that they can see you. You set the alarm off, so it breaks immersion. So you have to, on PlayStation, set down outside of camp or hover a little bit if you're trying to check the area below you before you land. Which that can be, some realism. You wouldn't just fly in fast most times. You might want to come in and check the area, make sure, or you just got it ahead. Either way, right? So I'll skip settings for now, come back to that. Right now this is how I normally play. Drone is on, yes, because you want to get those parts that you can. Helicopter patrols, yes. Azraels, we turn those off. The reason for it is because of the way they are built into the game. One, they happen very, very frequently. Which there could be some reality to this if you have the tech level to have that many drones up at a time sustained. But even the US doesn't have those kind of capabilities right now. Two, the only way you can evade them is to get down even in the woods, maybe even at night. I haven't tested this since Darkest Night. And cover yourself with dirt and stuff. So you have to stop what you're doing just to hide from a drone. So, and they also have, if you have resistance on, that is locked off. So there's that too. Alright, so tackling these settings now. So like I said, main weapon, I have 2 slots. Bandages, I have that several. Syringes do heal injuries, not critical ones, but they do heal your minor injuries. So that's preference again. You can have it where they don't heal injuries, so then all they do is give you health. But if you have an injury, it wouldn't heal that health bar, critical or not. Risk of injury, I do have it often though. So with often, what that means is you're more likely to get to a critical state where you have to use bandages. Stamina consumption extreme. So yeah, we're in shape, but you're running with a lot of gear. Reality, you wouldn't want to be running like that with all that gear, because you would get winded. Sometimes I bump that back up to regular, but yeah, we'll see. Health regen partial. So whatever bar I fall into as far as damage takes me, I can only regen that bar without using a syringe or bandage. Ammo load reloss on reload. So this one, I felt like for a while it was kind of realistic to have that on, but then after talking to people, a couple of Marines and Army guys that have been shooting guns in combat, they tell me they don't just throw their mags, they don't chuck them away. They try their best to maintain them, especially if they do a tactical reload, which is where you reload without having emptied the mag. You don't have any bullets you have left, but you know the situation you're about to possibly get into or firefight, you need to have a full mag ready to go. So they'll reload, they'll keep the old mag, and then at a time when it's convenient, they'll take the bullets out that and use it to reload other mags or combine them into one mag, whatever like that. But you don't just chuck mags, you don't just leave that stuff behind. And that makes sense, you don't want to leave your gear behind, right? Alright, and the Darkest Night for sure. We talked about that already, why that's on. Alright, so this is the main brunt of the settings, right? So subtitles, that's preference, hence preference, okay? Alright, so crosshair, I got that turned off, hit marker off, stamina off, weapons item display off, and class technique off, which is the little bar that shows you how far you've charged up for your class technique or not. All that's off, so you see my HUD's going to be super clear. Mission reminder, I do have that on, but it's on small and dynamic. So dynamic means I can tap down the D-pad, the little notification will pop up in the top left, and I can tap down again and it'll go away. I like that because sometimes you need a quick reference of what we're doing, and I don't want to go into the whole tactical menu to look at the objectives board. Detection gauge off and warning message off, so I won't know if I'm being detected or being spotted. Have that on, that's personal preference, right? Personal preference loops. Turn the XP module off. I'm not really worried about leveling up. I'm pretty much leveled up anyway. Alright, HUD markers. So enemies is off. Allies is off. Teammates is off. Sometimes I turn teammates on. There could be an argument made for that. Markers on the back of their backpacks and vests that are visible in thermal scope or night vision. It'd be really cool if your teammates could see your laser markers, especially in like night vision or thermals, right? If they can see your laser pointers. Objective markers, I leave that on. Communication, I leave that on. Communication on because you can't see your teammates' lasers. That's one thing I wish they would change. Don't know if they will. Don't know if that's the plan. I hope it is, because that would be really cool. If they make it where you can see your teammates' lasers, boom, that's coming off. Because then you can just point, right? Especially if you can change your color laser or just know which laser's whose. So you see minimap is always on, right? You're like, oh, how do you have a minimap on? Well, one, don't have any HUD markers for them, so that wouldn't matter. That could be just simply a quick reference map that you have on your arm. But two, I don't use it as such. I have it like this. Just the compass rose in the bottom right corner. You'll see that's what I actually have. Bottom right corner, all I have is compass rose. I'll even move this around here. Is that rain? Okay. That's what that sound was. Yeah, so you see, I'll do my interface on. Nothing. So I don't currently have any missions pinned, but if the missions pinned, it would be up here behind where my face cam now is, which is where I usually have it for Breakpoint anyway. Let's see. Finish up the settings real quick. I think that was actually about it. Talk about minimap. Text clouds off. Enemy icons off. Ally icons, this would be on the map. So ally icons, it doesn't matter. But I leave that on because sometimes I switch back and forth. Well, the TAC map, which is the one you pull up, that one I have undiscovered locations on. Co-op sync shot modules, that's off. So if I have that on, you see up there in the top right, it will tell you who's on your team, like as far as actual teammates, their health, and then if you had a sync shot module going on, it would tell you that too. And then notifications, I keep that on, whatever. Inputs, that's just personal preference. Gas gauge, I turn that off because you can actually hear your breathing change once you get low on the gas filter and you have to change it. And then that's PvP. So those are the main settings that make up that can affect your difficulty, right? So turning your HUD markers off, now you don't see the enemy. So even though you looked at them, there's no longer a little marker above the head that you can see through walls and see on the map, which helps with planning and helps with learning the tactics of the game. But as you learn those tactics, you'll find that you don't need those to be able to execute a mission properly when you take your time and work with the team. Let's see. I'm trying to see. There was something on here that I did. What was it? What was it? What was it? If you need to customize your controller, so say you go. What's that? There it is. So say you go and you do one main weapon instead of two. If you don't change this control here, when you do one main weapon, you still have to double tap to get your handgun out. If you single tap, nothing happens. So you can change this here to when you only have one gun, you can single tap to swap to your handgun. But you have to remember when you go back and you decide to have two guns, you have to double tap. You have to switch this back to double tap. So that's just one thing. Don't think what's in here. Hold on one sec. This is one of the guys here I was talking about. Not that one. That one. Dang, what was it? Oh, here he goes, here he goes. Helicopter auto throttle. So you can double click left stick when you're flying a helicopter once you have the throttle forward. You double click it while you have the throttle forward, you can let go of the left stick and the helicopter will remain going forward. You can just simply use the right stick to pilot, to navigate. So that's helpful if you're trying to multitask and you're eating or drinking a drink or whatever. You can take your left hand off. And then you can take your right hand off and only use it to navigate with the right stick, right? You can still alter the altitudes with your triggers, but then as soon as you touch the left stick again, it's going to take the autopilot off. So you can quickly flick it if you know you're about to run into a mountain or whatever. So those are my settings. Trying to see if I covered everything. Alright, so let's quickly talk about this map here, right? Let me go to an area. Alright, so this is called a topographical map. It's pretty similar to what you would actually see real life. I've done some land nav, some orienteering before. For those that are familiar, it's not going to be exactly the same, and there are differences across the board. But the basics that you need to understand are these little squiggly lines here. Sorry about that thunder in the background. Hope it's not coming through too much. These little squiggly lines are called contour lines. All right. So the further apart these lines are, the more shallow the slope is for your elevation. Okay. The steeper, like here, or here, or even here, that's really steep. That's going to be a very steep slope like this, right? Something like that. Now here, they seem about the same distance apart as here, but this gray area indicates that that's very hard to traverse, difficult to traverse. So, and if you translate this to the real world, you would need some kind of rock climbing gear to be able to traverse that area. Whereas here, it would just be a very steep hill that you could go up by normal circumstances. The colors mean something too. So this white in game means snow, whereas this is like a forest. I know it seems odd that they're right next to each other like this. This would be uncovered rock, which makes sense because this is a quarry where they've been mining stuff from. This would be your forest, maybe some beach or sand down here, marshland. This light green with no tree symbols. These little symbols here, those are little tree symbols, right? Your water, obviously here. So here, they have contour lines here. So this is showing depth, okay? Now it's only showing up to a certain degree because the game only goes so deep, and then there's no need to go any deeper. So once you get past those three lines, which are indicative of a set distance, right? So normally what you would actually see on a real topographical map is you would see a reference. So one of these lines closest to the base elevation would show a number somewhere along that line showing, okay, this is the elevation you're starting at. And then, so that this line showed it, and 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 4 or 5 would also show a number. So then you can see the difference. So let's say the first line was 25 and you knew it's meters. And then the fifth line was 150 meters. So it means 125 meters over 5 lines, 25 meters per line. So you know each contour line represents 25 meters, right? And it would do that periodically, right? Now if you're looking at a digital topographical map, like on some kind of GPS tech tool, then if you zoomed out, those contour lines increments would change, right? The more zoomed out you are, the bigger space you're covering, and then the more zoomed in you are, the more detail you have. But at some point, you would get to like this mountain peak here, and then this line that would be a complete circle with nothing inside of it would be the peak of the mountain. And then there may be a little number in the middle that shows the exact peak, and it may be between what would be two contour lines, but this line probably would show, or one of these lines would show an actual contour number. And that's showing the highest elevation, and then you would have one showing your lower elevation, right? Now you see how your contour lines kind of make a V here going up? That's usually indicative of some kind of canyon, valley, or river, right? Because that's how it would go down. So different ways you can learn to read that, right? You got your primary roads, secondary roads, tertiary roads, right? You got your buildings, and everything will be drawn to scale as much as possible to show, you know, hey, over here there's a whole set of buildings running next to a pipeline. Alright, cool. So then when you get out on the map, or you're out and traveling, and maybe you're coming down this old stream bed here, and you came to this road, you would know, okay, based off of my study of the map, I know there should be a pipeline over here, and I can follow that pipeline into this basin and make my infiltration wherever I decide to. Alright, so we're about to get one of the guys I was talking about in here. Go ahead and send out these invites. And then we'll go into this biv. Now if he gets here before, cool. If not, we'll keep it moving. Alright, so we're waiting to link up. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. If you got some suggestions or things I could probably try that you know from experience, or questions. Why do I do that? Why didn't I do this? Feel free to drop them in the comments there. We'll be posting this on the YouTube later. If you're checking this out on stream, here are my socials. You see my Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube there. Feel free to drop a follow. Be much appreciated. Alright, so what I normally do, and I do this with the crew, is when we first get on the game, we link up, we hit a bivouac. So bivouac is like a quick camp, if you will. It's like a tactical camp. Good place to like heal yourself, do injuries, take care of those. Maybe some gun repair, repack your bag, get some gear out, put some gear up, whatever like that. Eat, sleep, rest, right? So part of what we do here is do preparations. So preparations, you have 6 choices: eating, hydrate, tech review, stretching, weapon review, and resources. These are all give you different benefits, as you can see at the bottom, right? So if you're just starting the game and you're worried about getting your XP level up to get more skill points, cool, do resources. You get a 10% gain. That combined with a couple of different skills in the skill tree will get your XP up pretty quickly. Eating is another common one. It gives that plus 40% injury resistance boost. If you know you're using gear that also gives you injury resistance, keep an eye on that cap. Anything that goes over the cap is wasted gear, if you will, gear talent, so that you can change it to something else, put a different piece of gear on. Another good one is weapon review. I use that one a lot because I'm usually sniping, so that helps with accuracy. If you're doing a regular AR and you're on a fire team, you're not worried about injury resistance, you want to maybe keep that a little bit more realistic, accuracy be good. That is something you could have trained towards, right? Stamina gives you a bigger stamina bar for when you're running. Fatigue resistance reduces how much that stamina bar turns red every time you run a full sprint the entire duration of your stamina bar. So if you have your head up and you have a stamina bar at the bottom, that stamina bar will slowly deplete until it's all the way empty unless you stop running. If you stop running, then it'll stop where it's at, and then after a short time, will start to slowly recharge. If you run all the way to exhaustion, some of that bar at the ends will turn red. What that means is when it recharges itself, it won't go all the way out. It will only go to where the red stops. So if you do that over and over and over again, you slowly get to a point where that red bar takes up more than you have stamina. At that point, you can only run for a short period of time. The way to fix that is obviously visiting a biv, resting yourself, or drinking water from your canteen. Now, water from your canteen will remove the fatigue, but it won't refill your bar instantaneously. That will still recharge at its normal rate. And drone speeds, self-explanatory, increases your drone flying around speed. I rarely use a drone now. I am playing Pathfinder, so I have the big Amoros drone, but that has limited use, so I typically use it in recon or in a fire support. So, I don't know why I was just sitting there. I didn't do it. So I'm gonna do my accuracy, right? Trying to help the team out as much as possible. I'm bringing a long arm, so I need to be accurate. That accuracy, what that means is when you're looking down the scope of the rifle, where your crosshair is, that accuracy increases the chances of the bullet that you shoot going to where you think it's supposed to go. Now, with range comes some bullet drop. The amount of bullet drop is determined by range and by the weapon you're using. The bigger the rifle you're using, going up to attack 50, or there's another one that a lot of people use. I can't remember now. I don't use it though, but it's a good sniper rifle. The heavy snipes have the least amount of drop over range. So it means their bullet will travel the furthest before you start to see a noticeable drop. But all things will eventually fall, right? But then the MP7, which is my SMG, has quick bullet drop. So maybe after 150 meters, maybe not even that much, right? ARs typically can go anywhere from 150 to 250, depends on which one you're using, before you notice a significant bullet drop. And by significant, I mean like if you're aiming at the head for a headshot, you hit below the neck, or hit neck and below. That's like a significant amount of bullet drop, because then you might want to adjust your aim a little bit. But a neck shot and up, pretty much a kill shot, regardless of which gun you're using. Some of the enemies, that doesn't always work, right? So you got your tactics here. So this is where you would change which class you want to be using, right? So you can have multiple classes unlocked. Each one can have their own weapons loadout, and if you're playing with gear level, you have its own gear loadout, which gives you your own perks, right? And then they have their own level up system. As you see, I don't have everything leveled up all the way, but I've been working on it. PlayStation have them higher. Yo, what's going on, bug guys? How you doing? Appreciate you coming through. Appreciate that follow too, homie. How you doing tonight? We just in here talking about some Breakpoint here, just explaining some of the settings and stuff that I use. I am going to be posting this video to my YouTube later. There's my link for the YouTube. Feel free to check that out when you get a chance. I will be posting that this week though. You play Breakpoint? Good, that's good to hear, good to hear. So I normally do Pathfinder. Before these bottom three were introduced, I named Sharpshooter. Sometimes I did Field Medic too because I was already playing that support role, right? Panther is your more sneaky one. Field Medic, you obviously get the revive bonuses and health bonuses for your teammates. Yeah, I'm on Xbox. Yep. And then Assault, you get an extra health bar, and you also get some firepower bonuses. You play on Xbox as well? Oh, you play PlayStation? Alright, I play PlayStation as well. Hold on. Those are my gamer tags. Feel free to add me down on any one of those platforms. When I get on PlayStation, I'll accept it and we can try to link up sometime. I'm actually about to link up with my homeboys now on here, and we'll do some gameplay here. So these three new classes came out with one of the updates. Echelon is like Panther, but it's a tech sneaky, so it's tech stealth. Pathfinder we talked about is Overwatch with the drone. And then Engineer is good on a team build as your heavy weapons guy. They have a combat drone that they can deploy as your class technique, and they can put out ammo packs that give you explosive ammo. So it's pretty good. It's good to have a well-rounded team. Like having one field medic is for sure. Having an engineer, having a Pathfinder, and then having an assault. That's like a good 4-man team build. Now, if you know, like your Overwatch isn't good with the drone, but they're just good sniping, then you make them a sharpshooter, because then they get bonuses for that too. They get these AP rounds as their two-class technique. Those things can one-shot a lot of stuff, so that'd be good. If you are doing some kind of spec ops, maybe you want a couple Panthers or a Panther Echelon, right? Just depends on what your mission is you going to. So it's good to have that discussion and try to have that vary across the board. So then you got your craft here. This is the one I use a lot. So you would craft, depending on what you would need. It won't let you, okay, you mind dropping your gamer tag in here? You mind dropping your gamer tag in the chat? You can craft this stuff. So you would take metal parts, which I collected a lot of it, right? And then explosive materials, you would pick one of these. So this one you get from drones and from other electronics. So that you typically have a lot of. Saltpeter is also a good one. It's used in black powder for crafting explosives back in the day. But then you would put that stuff in there, it's like which one I would want, and then you craft it. Now it uses resources, but it saves you money. You're not buying in the shop. And then you can also craft these rations, which give you bonuses. So you can have one preparation, but guys, 4, 5, 6. All right, I got you, bro. You can have one preparation, which I showed you before, one of those 6, and one ration. You can have them same. So like if you want to fully max out your accuracy, you could do the preparation for accuracy, and then you could do the ration for accuracy, and stack those. Your preparation lasts 60 minutes from the time you break camp. Your ration lasts 60 minutes from the time you take it. 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, got you. Hold on. We'll add you right now from the phone. Fuck it, 4, 5, 6, 7. Boom, got you. Alright, I sent it, homie. So your advanced and your extreme ones usually take some more like better stuff. So this one takes complete fibers that I don't have a lot of. I will go and craft a couple of those because I do use recoveries occasionally. Endurance, this is really good for your handling, but again, you don't find a lot of these complete ones. So I like to keep 4 minimum of each of those. Alright, for sure. If I'm still on, definitely be here. But if not, I'll catch you another day. I appreciate you coming through. And then you got your weapon change. So if you're playing with gear level off, the only place you can change your weapon would be in a div. So you can actually come here and you would change it based off the weapons that you have blueprints for. And then you got your garage. So you got your flying, you got your 4-wheel vehicles or more in the case of the APC. And you got your 2 wheels. Don't have a lot because I don't use them as much, right? But I have the ones that I like to have. So I have a spider, have an exo shell. Exo shell is really good. It's 3 weapons, 4-seater. So you get a full squad in there, and then 3 of them can be manual weapons, which makes sense because your driver is not going to be trying to shoot stuff. Decent handling, pretty good off-road, good armor. And then the 2 weapons in the back, they each have a quarter or quadrant in the back, right? And you got your main gun in the front that has 360 coverage. That one combined with an APC, really good. If we had, yeah, you too, bro. Have a good night. If you had 6-man or even an 8-man squad, you have a 4-man up in the APC with the lead with the gun, and then you have the exo shell. You got the exo shell even bringing up the front with these guns, right? So yeah. So then you done your preparations, you discuss your game plan, you probably brought the tac mac up, you're like, alright, cool, we're going to enter here, or fire team A is going to enter there, fire team B is going to enter here, somebody else will put a beacon there, whatever like that. And then you talk about your whole plan, right? It's like, all right, cool. Well, we want to enter at night. Nighttime gives us the advantage. All right, cool. So now we're going to fast forward. So nighttime in the game is approximately 8 to 8:30. That's when it really starts to get dark. You see here it says 2029. So it's 8:29 p.m. But you select that, but then it's not actually going to do that time, right? So just be mindful. It's going to stop about an hour before that. The way you can verify that is pulling out binos or a drone. So I'll put the drone up real quick. Or it's about 30 minutes actually. You see the drone says 1952? That's what time it actually fast forwarded to. But the game time moves a little bit quicker, obviously.